Maui, you love to see it, man. Primetime golf always reminds me being back in college with the dudes, and we'd stay up late and, we'd watch golf go down in paradise, bro.
I know. It's especially for us who live in cold climates like the ones on your screen right now. It really is a juxtaposition of where you are and where you want to be.
Oh, man. Absolute pain, especially for Geoff. Oh, yeah, all of us. It's like Antarctica, like outside right now. All right, so this is PGA Tour high or low here, guys. So the following golfers' odds: too high, so too long, or too low, which is too short. It's the Sentry Tournament of Champions. I've seen that. I think Berger and is it Hoblin? I think those two are still waiting for their clubs to show up. So I don't know. Do what you want with that information. Jon Rahm plus 750 right now. Reid, what do you think? Too high or too low?
I mean, he's the lowest on the board, and rightfully so. I don't think you can get much lower than this, though, right? We've seen odds, maybe DJ come in at this in some tournaments like a RBC Heritage. But this is Jon Rahm against the strongest field, right? 39 of the top 40 winners of last year, and he sans Rory McIlroy, and he deserves it. If you look at weighted stats, if you look at strength of field of how he performs in terms of strokes gained total, this guy is by far and away the best player on the PGA Tour right now in the world. So I get it. I'm not too worried. If you want to go after this number, by all means. I won't. I think Geoff is in that same camp, as we'll never tell you to bet this number. This is too short of odds, especially with the Tournament of Champions. But yeah, he needs to be there. He is the best golfer in the world.
All right, Ulrich, he hasn't made a start on tour since season opening Fortinet, Don't Call Me Fortnite Championship in September. And he missed the cut there, dude.
Yeah, he did. I mean, and I think that's like the biggest thing you worry about with Jon Rahm this week, right? I mean, it's just the lack of sort of fall performances. Obviously, like he played some over in Europe, and he didn't really do much of anything. But there's a lot of top players in that boat. I mean, we just talked about Daniel Berger. Daniel Berger has one start in 4 months. I mean, it was a good start. It was at the Hero Challenge, and he finished T7th. It was a field of like 18 players. But I think that with Rahm, I really do feel like for DFS, he's going to be a better play than necessarily betting. I'm not betting him at plus 750. It's just kind of a ridiculous odds considering like the top end players that we have here. I mean, a guy that short, a guy who hasn't really like ever really challenged for the win here. I know he's been top 10 numerous times, but some of those have just been backdoor Sunday kind of, movements with Rahm. So no, I think plus 750, just too short. He's clearly the top player here, but I think in DFS, that's probably where you want to take a shot with Rahm. He's going to be lower owned. He's up there in price on DraftKings, but for betting purposes, I think there's a few better targets here once you get over plus 2,000.
Okay, Geoff, would you say Viktor Hovland here is a better choice?
Well, I did until I found out this news that he doesn't have golf clubs. I don't know. Viktor Hovland with the rental set, where do we put him in the odds? Plus 2,000? Right now he's plus 1,200 on the DraftKings Sportsbook. This guy's playing so well, though. Viktor Hovland just feels like he's reached like another level, like another state. When you get the upgrades in the video games, like, and you get the extra suit or the extra armor, that's what it feels like Viktor Hovland is. 2 wins in his last 2 starts. And the thing with Hoblin is this is like his bread and butter, like the tropical non-mainland U.S. settings, Puerto Rico, the Hero Challenge, wherever that was in the Bahamas. I mean, this is where this guy excels. He's just so good tee to green. He's found his putting stroke. I think plus 1,200 is actually quite fair for him here. As far as do you want to take a shot with him, I would just prefer that in an event like this, if you're going to go with multiple players, to take a shot with a couple guys in the plus 2,000 range, because there's just so much talent here. But if you're going shorter in the odds, I actually do kind of prefer him over guys like Cantley or even Bryson this week. I think Hovland's just too good to fade right now, and he's definitely priced appropriately.
Dude, Reid, can he win this thing with like the club pros clubs? He posted yesterday.
Without clubs?
Yeah, he posted yesterday. He's like, I've been here since Wednesday, and his clubs are still in Seattle, and he's not very happy with Delta right now.
No, I mean, if you go on Emerson's Twitter, also you'll see that there are some rants on certain airlines, which we will not name. But look, I mean, if he doesn't have his clubs, you got to downgrade him a little bit. But even then, right, maybe if you get a little shift, a little drift in the odds because his clubs aren't there, and then finally, miraculously, they come on Thursday, then, maybe you get a good number on Hoblin. I'm surprised, though. Geoff's boy, Bryson DeChambeau, and Patrick Cantley, guys that he really touts throughout the year, I'd rather go with those two guys. And look, I'm going to do the Geoff Ulrich and name everyone in this range. Xander Schauffele, right? The no-cut event prince. You know, he just does so well. But I think Bryson's in line for a pretty good week here. So I'm going to say for Hoblin, this is a little bit too short. Just because I get the recent form and I get the type of courses that he wins at no cut, right? In the Hero World Challenge, tropical, he's got a couple of wins in tropical settings. But Bryson, when accuracy is not a thing off the tee, this guy's going to bomb every single driver possible known to mankind. His putting is fantastic. The wedge game scares me with Bryson a little bit. But if we're talking about DFS, Patrick Cantley is a little bit more on the DFS side. He's at $9,700 on DK. That's massively short for a guy who just won the FedEx Cup, right? So yeah. I like a few guys more than Hoblin this week in this range.
Okay, so then you mentioned DeChambeau. Geoff, what do you think about DeChambeau then at plus 1,200? So he was 14th at the Hero World Challenge here. We all know he played in the match. Obviously, and Reid knows this too, this is a windy track. There's a lot of uneven lies here, and I feel like that can throw a wrench into his typical, usual game strategy.
Yeah, I mean, from a birdie-making rate, no one's better than Bryson. So you kind of look at it and say, well, this is often a birdie fest, and it's probably a good setup for him. But these greens are tricky. And, we've got the whole green book thing and, the windy setup. I just don't think this is necessarily like one where Bryson is going to be competing year in, year out. Again, I don't want to bring up his leading form because, so many of these top players don't have the greatest lead-up form. But we just haven't really seen Bryson compete here. And with just how he performed over the fall and not really played that much, I'm okay leaving him out. I mean, would I be surprised if Bryson just lit it up with a 61 on Thursday and bounced out to a big lead? No, but I mean, you could say that about a guy like Brooks Koepka too, who's a lot bigger in odds. And I think that's the biggest thing here. If you're going to take someone in this range, I'd much rather go with the informed player like a Hovland. Whereas if you're going to take a shot with a guy who has the talent but maybe hasn't shown the form, I think that's where you have to go bigger in the odds. And for me right now, Bryson, I just rather target him at certain different areas. I think he still probably will struggle a little bit on these bigger greens. It's not supposed to be windy. That could help him, but I just prefer other players in this range.
All right, well, speaking of bigger odds, longer odds, Reid, Tony Finau, plus 2,500 here, man. Your favorite golfer and your favorite place in the world. Oh, and I totally expect throughout the season you pulling a Geoff Ulrich and literally continue to talk about him every day since I know now he's on your season-long golf team.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, absolutely. He was the first pick on the Team Shaka. He was by far and away my favorite pick. I was waiting, and no one was going to pick him. And yes, everybody cares, Cody.
Yeah,
so
Cody.
Get off. Just because you don't care doesn't mean anyone else cares. But anyway, moving on. Look, Finau, he's a guy that strength of field, right? He plays well in these stronger fields. Now at 2,500, even though he's one of my favorite golfers, I don't necessarily think that these odds, the odds for him at 2,500 in this tournament is going to be fine because you're going to find him at much shorter odds in bigger fields. And to Geoff's point, that's what you want to take a look at, right? It's some of these players who aren't informed, but who have the ability to go low. And birdies are going to be a premium at this course. It's the putting that scares me. There's probably a few other courses like the Masters and some other majors where putting is the predominant stat. This is one of those courses where you have to putt. These are huge greens. 3-putt avoidance, definitely the case. You need to be making those putts between 10 to 15 feet. And that's just not Finau's game, right? It's Sanjay is right there. I like Sanjay a little bit more. And Cam Smith. Talk about someone, too, that's a really good at this number. Cam Smith at the same or plus 2,200. He's a guy who's number one in strokes gained putting over the last 50 rounds, who doesn't have to worry about his driving accuracy. That I'd much rather go to than Finau. Finau, you want to save for those bigger tournaments, stronger, less stronger fields that you can absolutely get birdies at.
All right, Geoff, how do you feel about Reid's guy?
Oh, I mean, I was ready to give my season-long guy, Cam Smith, some love here just to make sure you get him motivated for the year ahead. But, Reid made the argument for me. I think in this range, you almost need to make it more of a value proposition. And Finau does have the longest odds, I think, between Sanjay, Spieth, and Cam Smith. But I kind of do have to agree with what Reid said. I would rather try and get Sanjay or Cam Smith on board here, especially Sanjay. Sanjay is such a good putter on Bermuda grass, or he has been at times. He's certainly had most of his spike weeks on Bermuda. But, Tony Finau coming in here off a win on the playoffs. And I know one of the trends I've thrown out on Twitter is, with the Tournament of Champions, the guys obviously all have wins under their belt, but 5 of the last 6 winners here, they've grabbed wins either in the FedEx Cup playoffs or in the fall swing. Finau obviously fits in that swing. So does Sungjae Im, who grabbed one in the fall. So something to think about. But I slightly prefer guys over Finau. I do think, though, if you're looking for like a basket of players in this range and you want to grab Finau as one of them, he does have bigger odds than the guys we're mentioning. So I don't think he's necessarily a bad bet. I prefer him, like I said, taking a shot with Finau at plus 2,500 over Bryson this week. That's 100% for sure. But probably would rank him third behind Sungjae and Cam Smith. But it is really close between those 3 players this week. I like all 3 of them.
All right, guys, we have less than 30 seconds to go. Just Slater-proof pick. Guys, odds you'd like to win this thing. Reid.
I think Patrick Cantley is in play. I think no one's talking about him, so give me Patrick Cantley.
All right, Geoff.
Yeah, I think if you're going with one player, especially at the top, I like Sam Burns. I know it's his first time around, but plus 1,800, this guy's he's just good at everything.
Yep.
And I think he can make enough birdies to actually get the W here.